To begin this review, I want to say there's a certain key on my keyboard that decided it wanted to stop working after approximately 4 hours of using this keyboard, and it's ucking annoying. This keyboard is a Chinese keyboard from Ace Hallpad. This keyboard is lawed. How lawed? So lawed I can't use the ucking key. It's so ucking annoying when I find a keyboard that I really want to try out, but it lets me down completely. This keyboard seems more like a rushed prototype than an finished product. With the use of the key, some words in this review may come out quite odd, but as per the norm, I type all my reviews with the keyboard I'm reviewing. In this case, I consider this keyboard quite the failure at this task. This keyboard is a Hall X keyboard. What are Hall X switches? Hall X switches operate a bit differently from other switches. Inside of the slider, there's a magnet, and on the PCB, there's a sensor. When the slider moves down and the magnet reaches a certain distance from the sensor, it will detect and the key will be marked as registered. This leaves much less mechanical complexity in the switch. There is no need for a lead or the contacts to touch. This leaves you with the opportunity to have just the slider that makes contact with the housing. In my opinion, this can lead the way to make one of the smoothest linear keyboards, but in this respect, it has been an failure. Let's start with a physical overview of this keyboard. Or mine, I got the bamboo case, which is a simple sandwich construction. The keycaps are loading, which I don't normally like, but I think it looks better with this bezel than without. They claim this keyboard is water resistant, which I highly doubt. The keycaps are thin and shine through, and there's blocky, gamer-y kind of aunts. The keycaps are thin, but they're actually some of your best options or keycaps on these switches. The tolerances or the crosses aren't super precise, so often, or many my sets, they would simply all write the switches. Even pressing some the switches down with ORs would cause the keycaps to ling all. The RGB LED X are simple and nothing to write home about. They'll get the job done, I guess. In addition to a caps lock whose indication light between the navigation cluster and the arrow keys, there is also an option to lock the Windows key. This feature seems pretty popular with many keyboards coming out of China. Now let's talk about the switches. That's the main draw of this keyboard right here. There really isn't any reason to buy this keyboard aside from the fact you may be interested in the Hall X switches. In theory, I think that these switches are great. In reality, they're quite lacking. Co-host of Top Clack, Brian, has repeatedly told me his interpretation of why he loves linear switches so much. In the same way a blind person will have other senses increased, taking away a tactile bump in a switch will increase your perception of the other actors. Without a tactile bump, you may care to pay more attention about how smooth the sliders are, the feeling of the spring, and of course other actors. When typing on this keyboard, it feels scratchy. So the big discussion is that this keyboard is currently featured on Massshop with hundreds of purchases as it inches closer to its 1,000 unit minimum. I hope these people aren't as sorely disappointed as I am. This keyboard sounds meh, and it's not quite quiet enough to really use in the workplace unless you rely on your fingers. Gluing the keyboard did seem to help quite a bit, although I still felt some scratchiness on the switches I loomed. The issues with scratchiness and linears is that a linear switch isn't in any way scratchy, it's an failure of a linear switch. I only lubed once to see how it would turn out, and it still felt sorely disappointing. In the end, I can't recommend this keyboard until the Hall X switches have their sliders smoothed out and the scratchiness removed. I want to like this keyboard. I love the concept of it, but the execution seems flawed and poorly done. I hope that Xmet can work with the manufacturer to smoothen the switches and possibly remove that annoying branding you'll have on the top of the TKL model and only have the branding on the bottom. In conclusion, I wouldn't recommend this keyboard. I feel this keyboard is lacking in so many areas, but people who are buying this keyboard are investing in this company, in Xmet, and in the hope that this switch can be improved on, as so many MX switches have been improved on in the past. Best wishes to Hall Effect keyboards, and I hope there is a place for them in the future.